Hello, beautiful beings. Welcome to Soul Shift Messages. If you're moving through a transition, awakening, or deep inner change, you're in the right place. Take a deep breath and let this message meet you where you are. Remember to take what resonates and leave what doesn't for someone else. Nothing good comes from forcing things to fit, and you know your story best. Trust your discernment. If you're new here, please know I cuss. Once I get going and these messages start flowing, I can't be 100% sure what's going to come out. So if you stay, know that you've been warned. And if that doesn't resonate with you for any reason, that's perfectly fine. Feel free to leave and find another channeler who is more in alignment with you. So before I jump into today's message, they want me to talk about the thumbnail photo that I chose for this message. And honestly, this really wasn't something I was going to share. It's actually a very personal photo and story. And if I'm being really honest, I'm only sharing it because I'm really feeling guided to do so. Because if I'm being honest, when I was tapping into the energy for the audience that is going to receive this message, I'm not gonna lie, it was heavy. It was heavy, dense energy. Actually to the point where I had to smoke cleanse myself because I just felt like if I didn't clear that out, that it might impact the message. But there's a heaviness that can't be denied, and to stop beating around the bush with it, I'll just get into the story. So I actually took this photo probably when I don't want to say it was the lowest, but it was definitely one of the low points, one of the lower points in my journey to date. And I've talked about it before. I do support a couple of creators on Patreon, and one of them is Nima. I believe it's now Nemasphere Subliminals. It might be Nema Subliminals, but her YouTube content, not her Patreon, but her YouTube content is available under the Creators I Love section on my page if you're interested. But yeah, she essentially got the download to invite people to work directly with Gaia, and I felt called at the time, like that resonated with me. But if I'm being really honest, because I was at such a low point, I actually I didn't feel worthy. If I'm being really honest, I didn't feel like I was worthy of taking that step forward and really answering that call. And my team told me that that invitation was for me, like that it really was for me. And I just didn't, like I said, I didn't feel ready. I didn't feel worthy. And so I had just decided at the time, I was like, I understand what my team is saying, but I was like, if I do actually work with Gaia and I'm worthy of her, I actually spoke out loud to her directly. I went outside and I just told her, and for those who don't know, Gaia is the Earth's consciousness. And so, I just told her, I said, if you want me to take this step and I am actually worthy of doing this work with you. Give me an unmistakable sign that you want me to do this and that this is the path that you want me to take at this time, and just remove all doubt. Just make it clear as day. Hit me like a ton of bricks without it actually literally being a ton of bricks. When I see it, just make it clear as day. And I don't know why, but when I when I was going through this period, I was doing a lot of shadow confrontation. Some of you may recognize that as a dark night of the soul. Some of you may be aware about the clip off. If you're not aware of the clip off, it's the underworld. And there's hell gates and lots of fun shit to navigate. I didn't know I was in the clip off at the time. And frankly, I was really getting my ass whooped while I was down there. But when I just had hard times and I really just needed to get out of my house, but really didn't want to deal with people, wasn't energetically really in a place to deal with people, I used to go for drives in my car. And I went to pull out of my driveway and I looked up and I saw just that tiny piece. It was never a full rainbow. It was just a tiny piece of a rainbow. And as soon as I saw it, I immediately started crying because it was so beautiful. And like I just got filled with this warmth. Like, oh my gosh. Just felt like I was just jolted with love. And it's such a weird feeling to like physically feel like shit, energetically feel low, and just be so fucking pumped up with this beautiful, loving energy. It's still one of the weirdest things I've ever experienced because I had all of that going on simultaneously. And I took a picture because I was just like, you know what? Like, this is just so beautiful. So beautiful. Like, I just knew immediately that was my sign. So, just in my driveway, crying, taking a picture, really taking it in. And she really went above and beyond, man, as I was, you know, I'll get to the part she wants me to share, but yeah, that little piece of rainbow followed me and presented itself multiple times while I was in my car driving, just driving around, trying to work through some shit. So she made it very, very clear. But when I first started to drive, I actually was driving past a walking trail that I normally went on because, to be honest, I was spending a lot of time in nature when this was going on. That seemed to be where I just felt most comfortable at the time. And Gaia communicates to me in different ways. Right now, she's really favoring my claircognizance, but I am clairaudient as well. And as I was getting closer to the walking trail, I heard walk with me, talk with me. And so I immediately pulled in and started walking on this walking trail. And essentially what happened is I had hit such a low point that Gaia and my team basically were intervening so that I didn't energetically get lower than I already was, because I'm not going to lie, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. And I think sometimes it's just really important to just acknowledge where you are, you know? And I don't want to say accept where you are, because you can change where you're at. But I think sometimes when things aren't great, and things are not going in your favor and you feel really overwhelmed, I think sometimes you just have to face that reality. And basically, as I walked on this trail, she, and to be honest, it's a popular trail, and I actually think it is a tiny miracle that I literally encountered no one as we did this, because I was still crying as we were having this conversation. And she basically told me, that she knew how hard things were for me at that moment, and really trying to reassure me that, neither she nor my team had actually abandoned me, because I really, at the time, did not feel connected to much of anything. And, it, like I said, it was just a very, very dark time for me. And she really just spoke to my heart and just said, it is, I know it's tough, but we're still here and we've been here and we're not going anywhere. And we need you to really, really double down and believe in that. We need you to be brave and to keep moving forward. It's not always going to be like this, really reassuring me that this was a phase and that it would end. And give me a second. And I just told her at the time, I said, I really don't know if I'm strong enough to make it through this. I don't know if I have what it takes to pull myself out of this. I always really thought I was such a strong person. I was like, I don't know anymore. And she told me, she said, you will. You can and you will. And she said, keep asking us for help. We will keep opening up pathways for you, but we need you to be brave enough to act on them. It's not enough that we just open these things for you and we bring these things that need to be addressed to your attention. You need to act. You need to co-create with us. And she did tell me that I would be making hard decisions and that I would be making changes that would not be comfortable and that in some cases would scare me, and that I would need to absolutely be brave enough to move through them, to just trust that I would be held, I would be supported, and I would come out in a better place. And she was right. She absolutely was right. And that did happen. It didn't happen quickly for me, but things did eventually get better. And I don't know who needs to hear this story, but I really feel like Gaia wants you to also receive that message. Your teams want you to receive that message. And they want you to be brave, babies. Persevere. Because if you make the decision and you decide to act, they're not even asking you to act perfectly. But if you decide to act, the support will be there. And probably in ways that you didn't expect, and it may not always show up the way you wanted, but it's there. All right, let me write down, it's about 14:20, so I'll make sure I note that kind of story time. But yeah, that's the photo. That's the story. I just feel like someone really needed to hear that. All right. So let's jump. Actually, let me get some water because that was heavy for me too. Whew. Man, I'm so grateful I got out of that because shit. Okay. So I am calling this message the next stage of awakening from reaction to understanding. All right, so let's go ahead and dive right in. So the first part is awakening was the beginning, not the destination. All right, many people have recently gone through a period of realizing that parts of the world don't function the way they once believed. This stage often involves discovering contradictions in institutions, narratives, or systems that were previously trusted. All right, some of you are seeing this in an individual life manner. Some of you are seeing that with dynamics in your own life. I'm hearing family, friends, relationships. For some of you will even pick this up in your own partner right now. Some of you are also starting to see the role you play in these systems, in these dynamics. I just heard good for you. So congratulations if you're actually starting to pick that up, because that's progress, babe. Take the progress, even if it's small. So as these realizations emerge, people may experience strong reactions such as fear, anger, distrust, or emotional exhaustion. And they want to be clear, this stage was never meant to be the final outcome. Awakening is the opening of perception, not the completion of the journey. Its purpose is to reveal what was previously unseen so people can eventually develop clearer understanding and wiser responses. So for a number of you, the current phase often feels like confusion. And frankly, I was real fucking confused when I took that picture. I was like, I don't even know if I'd know my ass from my own elbow at this point. It was rough. All right. After the initial realization stage, many people enter a period where information becomes overwhelming. They encounter constant streams of news, interpretation, debates, and competing explanation for events. Use your discernment as to how that fits your story. You know it best. All right. Some of you are working on identifying this in your individual life. Some of you are at a point where you see that in your individual life, but you also see that on a more collective level, meaning that you're looking at bigger structures. Some of you are looking at cultural stuff. Some of you are full-blown working on cracking the fucking matrix, and I love that for you. And if you're not there yet, don't worry. You start small and you start picking up on bigger shit as you go. But start small. Don't try to crack the matrix at once. That's not going to work out well for you, baby. I'm also hearing they're saying you got to earn that shit. So, yeah, stay focused on you and your journey. All right? Because once you start picking it up on smaller scales, the other details just kind of start coming through as you're ready for it. I'm hearing trying to force that ain't gonna work. So, baby, someone is hella ambitious. Take your time, honor your pace. Because you know what? The more you get, the more you're just like, what the fuck? And I can tell you that from experience. All right, this can create the feeling of being caught between narratives and struggling to determine what is accurate. This is a normal part of this phase, and your girl went through this as well. So, more information does not automatically produce clarity. All right? When your attention is scattered across too many topics, too many controversies, I'm hearing just too much shit, it becomes difficult to see the larger patterns that explain what is happening. All right, discernment requires focused attention and thoughtful interpretation, not constant reaction. And babies, I want to be clear when I say this. This is no shame. This is no blame. This is a literal skill you must develop. You must. This world, this experience is chock fucking full of distractions, and it is designed that way. I'm not asking you to fight the way this world is set up. The ask is to develop the discernment to understand what is meaningful and what is just a fucking distraction, just a whole bunch of noise. They're literally showing me, oh, what the fuck's his name? Oh, I just blanked. Is it Scuttle? I don't know. It's the seagull from The Little Mermaid. It's the seagull, and it's the scene before Kiss the Girl where he's just fucking squawking horribly. I'm hearing put that bird out of misery. But that's basically what they're talking about. Like there is shit in this experience that just squawks, trying to get your attention. And they want you to develop the discernment to understand what is meaningful information, what is a distraction, and what is just fucking noise that should just be completely blocked out and put out of its fucking misery. And I'm hearing you are more than capable of doing this. But you must pay attention. Some of you just need to cut down on the amount of information you are taking in. If you are, and I love my tarot readers. I really do. I don't listen to very many. In fact, I really only listen to 2 right now. But, and one of them is Mocha Love Tarot. She's really the only one I consistently listen to, but that's my soul sister, and she's absolutely tapped into my frequency, and frankly, a lot of people are not. So that's just that's my story on that. I'll end that there. But if you are spending most of your day listening to multiple tarot readers, especially if it's shit like who is sending you evil eye and who is backstabbing you and shit like that, like, babies, you need to understand you open pathways for that shit. That can lead to paranoia. Like, don't be doing that. So if you are watching a boatload of tarot readings and you actually find you're not getting clarity, baby, you need to cut back. I don't know who that is for, but some of you need to cut back on that. All right? Some of you really do need to, because the reality is there's always some level of fuckery in this world, and you just don't need to be feeding it that much attention. All right? Especially when shit's already not going well. All right? Some of you may feel called to cut back on social media. I'm hearing the 24-hour news cycle is not your friend. I don't know who needs to hear that. And I understand you want to be informed about the world, but I'll share my opinion. The way things work for me is I really don't pay attention to that. I got more things going on in my life that require my attention than that. And my experience has been, if something important enough happens, someone's gonna tell you. I shit you not. Anytime something genuinely of note has come up, someone has told me about it. So I don't actually need to be monitoring the news to actually keep up with things that I actually need to be aware of. I find that shit just finds me, and I just kind of note it, and I handle that how I see fit. So, but yeah, some of you, y'all, I'm just gonna say it because it's coming through, but don't don't be taking advice from people who you don't want to trade lives with, right? Like let me put it to you this way. If you got friends who are shitty at relationships, and we can love our friends and be honest about them. If you have a friend who's real shitty about relationships, like they just suck, you wouldn't ask that person for for advice on relationships. Not everybody's advice holds the same weight. Not everyone's input is going to actually help you. Some of you need to actually stop looking for answers outside of yourself, and you just need to be quiet. Some of you actually need to go into nature if you can. I know we all live in different places with different climates and stuff like that, but some of you just need to be out in nature and just try to clear your mind and see what the fuck comes through, because I'm hearing for some of you that's where your clarity is. That's where your thoughtful interpretation is going to come through. Discernment requires focused attention and thoughtful interpretation, not constant reaction. Some of you need to get out in nature by yourself. By yourself. All right, I'm going to move on. All right, many people in this phase become trapped in an exposure cycle. A common pattern emerges during awakening where people repeatedly move through the same loop. It starts with discovering a hidden problem, feeling shock or anger, searching for more revelations, repeating the cycle when the next discovery appears. Because new information is constantly emerging, this process can actually continue indefinitely if you let it. If you let it. All right? You have the power, the autonomy, the authority, and some of you are developing the discernment to recognize where you are looping in your life, where you are repeating behaviors often without even thinking about it. Once you recognize it and you clock it, you can choose differently. That is part of your invitation, right? Is to recognize these loops and interrupt them. And you don't have to do drastic things. For some of you, I've talked about it in multiple other videos. Some of you need to stop having knee-jerk reactions to things. Some of you need to pause. Like, even if it's a text on your phone, walk away from your phone. Go do something. I constantly have water around me. Even when I used to go into work meetings, I used to always have some type of beverage for typically one of two purposes. One would be sometimes I would take a sip if I was asked a question and I needed natural time to kind of think it through before I responded. That's an easy excuse. The other time I used it is it's really hard to have that knee-jerk reaction when you have fucking liquid in your mouth. Like you literally can't talk. It forces you to pause. And that there are times where that is constructive. And so I don't know why I shared that. Maybe someone needs to consider that. But even if you just interrupt your knee-jerk reaction, some of you need to pause and ask yourself, does this actually need to be handled in this moment? Some of you need to stop being so readily available for this bullshit. And that's the word I'm getting, bullshit. Some people may actually be trying to bait you. And again, it's not to shame you. They're calling it out because they want you to see this and understand that is your pattern. That is your loop. That is how you are perpetuating the current experience. All right. Awareness alone does not produce resolution or understanding. Eventually, the process needs to shift from simply uncovering problems to understanding how these systems, how these dynamics operate, and how you can respond intelligently and intentionally. Without this shift, awareness becomes a cycle rather than a transformation. You can decide how it's going to go. And if you do realizing you're in a cycle, baby, you have the opportunity to turn it into a transformation. All right, just because you've got one now doesn't mean you can't flip it. Are you an alchemist or not? I would bet money you are. All right, not every conflict deserves attention. They're bringing me back. I think it's Scuttle. Oh, that's going to bug the shit out of me. But anyway, they're pulling me back to the seagull squawking immediately. I'm seeing it. I'm hearing it. Play Kiss the Girl instead. Damn. Many public debates and controversies are designed in ways that attract attention and emotional reactions. All right. This can be, again, in your individual life. You can be seeing this shit on bigger scales. Take it how it resonates and how it fits. All right. When you feel compelled to respond to every new conflict or scandal, your focus becomes fragmented. This fragmentation makes it harder to see long-term patterns or structural dynamics. That is on purpose, babies. That is on purpose. One of the most important realizations is that attention itself is a valuable resource. All right. Some of you may be familiar with the phrase where attention goes, energy flows. And yes, it does. All right. Where attention goes, energy flows. Where are you investing your energy, and is that actually worth it? All right. We're moving from awareness to building skills and understanding. These are skills we need to develop, and yes, you can develop it. I did not get here through peaceful experiences. All right, but I'm very grateful I went through what I went through because I see this shit. I see it. And it does make things easier. All right, where attention is directed shapes how reality is perceived. Choosing carefully what deserves attention is an important form of personal sovereignty. Discernment includes knowing which battles are meaningful and which ones are distractions. Do those battles actually, are they actually worth fighting? I'm hearing the general. I think that's by Dispatch. All right. This fight is not, I've seen this fight is not worth fighting. Some of you may be coming to that conclusion or starting to see that. All right. Understanding patterns creates real clarity. Isolated events rarely make sense on their own. Real understanding emerges when you begin to notice reoccurring patterns in how systems or dynamics behave. Some of you are gonna see, I'm hearing takers. Some of you have such beautiful giving energies. And one of the most challenging aspects of my journey was really acknowledging and accepting the fact that I had given that beautiful energy to people who could never reciprocate it, could never reciprocate it, could never, ever mirror that back to me or pour back into me the way I poured into them. And it's hard when you realize that people you really, truly loved and cared about were willing to suck you dry energetically just because you were willing to give to that extent. And for some of you, that hit really hard. And really, the reason why that is being brought to your attention is so you can decide if you want to keep giving that energy to people who cannot, and in some cases are not willing to reciprocate it, or are you going to make space, disconnect and make space in your life so that people who can reciprocate that beautiful energy to you can actually come in? That will be your choice. I'm hearing entitlement. They're bringing up a video that I saw on social media last night. I have no idea who this person is. I swear they'll make anybody famous these days because the way they introduced this person, they acted like I knew who that was. I don't. But basically, he talked about how his wife told him that his family was incredibly entitled. This guy had money, let's put it that way. And so when they had family dinners, he tended to be the one who paid pretty much every time they went out. And so he was like, I actually didn't believe her at first. And she said, listen, when we go to the next family dinner, like before anyone orders, she was like, we'll let them know everybody's got to pay for their own stuff tonight. And let's just see what happens. And he actually said she was the one who actually announced, like, hey, everyone's going to pay for their own dinners tonight. We're going to get separate checks. And he said that when the time came to leave, no one hugged him. No one even acknowledged him. Like, they just up and fucking left. Like, they wanted nothing to do with him. And he said it was an experience he could never forget. And it absolutely changed his perception of things. So I feel like someone needs to hear that. And that may not just apply to family. Some of you Some of you may need to do, some of you may need to do that with others you commonly pay for. I'm hearing, but be upfront. Like, don't let people fucking order and then drop that bomb on them, because that's not going to get you the best information. If you commonly pay when friends go out to eat, like if you have success, if you have money and you commonly pay for that shit with friends, you may want to consider that too. And I'm hearing, don't take, some of you need to do this with your spouse, your partner. Some of you just need information. Some of you need to do something different to get information your team is trying to get to you. Your teams are trying to show you who people are. And you don't have to do big dramatic shit to do it. Yeah, some of you need to say no to something you almost always do. Some of you just need to literally, in certain scenarios, use your discernment. You just need to reject something that you almost always would do. Just say no. Tell people that they need to pay for their own stuff this time, again, before they start ordering shit. Because you need to see how people react. That's going to show you the entitlement. That's going to show you people's true motives. My recommendation is to do that when you feel ready to, or when you feel called to. Also, I'm hearing if you are avoiding confronting something like that, you may find your team puts that shit right smack in your face. Some of you know certain things you need to do and you're avoiding it. And I'm hearing your clock is ticking on that. I heard your team is sick of your shit with that. Baby, don't be out here pissing off your team. All right? Because anytime I tried to avoid things, my team would be like, oh, are we trying to avoid this? And like fucking shoved it in my face. It was like, damn, I can't. You know? Either you can choose to act. Some of you may find your team forces you to act. Best to walk into things willingly than have that shit shoved in your face. That's just my 2 cents. Take that if it resonates. Leave it if it doesn't. Do you? All right. Many forms of influence, persuasion, and institutional behavior follow recognizable strategies that repeat over time. Some of you need to participate less and observe more, because that's how you will really start clocking this shit. Once those patterns are recognized, it becomes much easier to interpret new develops without becoming overwhelmed by them. Again, some of you are really looking at people through the lens. For some of you, with family, it may be your mother, it may be your father. And you're actually being guided when this stuff comes through to detach from the emotional aspect of who these people are to you. You need to see with clear eyes. And that will get easier with time if you decide to act on this. You don't have to. But that is my experience. You adjust expectations based on what people are showing you. And to be honest, once you really start clocking bullshit, I don't care who you are to me. I clock your shit. I do not participate in that. If you're trying to play me, you will play yourself. All right. Clarity grows when people shift their focus from individual incidents to how larger systems operate over time. True patterns cannot help but reveal themselves over time. All right. The real transformation is in how you think. The most significant shift taking place right now is not even primarily emotional. It's cognitive and perceptional. All right. The next stage of development involves moving from reacting to every event, interpreting issues one by one, forming conclusions through emotional responses, toward observing broader patterns, thinking strategically about these systems, these dynamics, interpreting events within larger contexts. This transition represents the movement from reactive thinking to reflective understanding, and you need time to reflect. You need quiet. You will need some solitude. You will need quiet. That's when this shit really starts getting clear. All right. A new limitation can appear after awakening. After leaving one belief system, it is easy to replace it with another rigid framework. When people become deeply attached to a single explanation for complex events, their perspective can narrow again. Real understanding requires recognizing that many systems are complex and multi-layered. Different perspectives can contain partial truths, and multiple factors often shape the same outcome. Multiple things can be true at once. Again, this is really about broadening your perspective. And I'm also hearing while honoring your truth. You can see things for what they are, but at the end of the day, if it genuinely does not serve you, you can just opt completely the fuck out of it. All right? Intellectual flexibility allows insight to deepen over time. All right, awakening often changes personal identity. When you begin to see the world differently, your sense of identity can shift as well. This is very normal, and I have been through this. It can feel destabilizing, but my advice is don't rush. Don't rush this process. If you are patient and you focus on what is in front of you, you will be able to come back to yourself. And you can even bring back aspects of yourself that went dormant while you were really in this survival phase. I'm at a point now where I want to do my hair, do my makeup, really care about my aesthetics more than I did before. These are aspects of myself that I used to be able to manage without thinking about it. And I had to put them down to get through what I needed to do. And they are coming back. So if there are aspects of yourself that you really miss, you do have the potential to bring them back. They're not gone. All right? People may find themselves asking, who am I now that my worldview has changed? How do I relate to people who see things differently? What role should I play moving forward? A lot of this awakening is recognizing the roles that you're currently in and frankly don't serve your greatest and highest good. And you can opt out of them by choosing differently, by acting differently. And you really don't have to force yourself to answer these. These, I find, the more you focus on what you need to do, these will just naturally answer themselves with time. All right? This questioning is a normal part of growth. As perception expands, individuals naturally begin forming a new sense of purpose and direction. All right? Periods of instability are part of adjustment. When old assumptions begin to dissolve and new perspectives are still forming, uncertainty can arise. All right? This period may feel chaotic because familiar frameworks no longer provide clear answers. And I know how terrifying this period can feel. Believe me, this absolutely rocked me for a while. And that's not to say it's going to be the same for you. It's just I had a lot of shit happen at once, and it was a lot. All right? And it is terrifying when the old stuff just does not work anymore. Be patient with yourself. All right? This instability is often part of a broader process of recalibration. During these periods, you gradually develop more accurate ways of understanding the world. Confusion is sometimes a transitional stage that appears before deeper clarity. And I'm not going to lie, there was a point in my journey where I would have told you, if you told me that you were full of shit and you needed to get the fuck out of my face. But I got to be honest, where I am now, that's pretty fucking accurate. So I'll say it one more time. Confusion is sometimes a transitional stage that appears before deeper clarity. I'm here and trust the process. All right, let me grab some water. Awareness can lead to two very different outcomes. The same realization about the world can produce very different emotional responses. Some people respond by feeling discouraged or cynical, focusing only on corruption and dysfunction. Others respond by feeling empowered to understand systems more clearly and navigate them more effectively. Awareness itself is neutral. What matters is how it is interpreted and applied. Perspective determines whether knowledge becomes a burden or a tool. If you currently feel discouraged and cynical, know that you can get yourself out of that. You can absolutely get yourself out of it. And I know because I have been there. I've absolutely been there. And it wasn't until I made the decision that, you know what, this just doesn't fucking serve me. Nothing's getting better. I'm not getting any more clarity. I'm just seeing how everything is fucking wrong, and I just decided, I was like, you know what, I actually just hit a point where I was like, you know what, this is not my life. Like, I just fucking rebuke this. You cannot tell me I have come this far just to end up in this shithole that seems to have no bottom and no clear way out at this time. So I did. I rebuked that shit. I was like, get me out of this. Like, give me the eyes to see what I need to see to get the fuck out of here, because this is not working for me. I was like, this is not my life. Y'all did not wake me up just to see how fucked up this place is, and I just got to live the rest of my life knowing just how fucked up this shit is. I was like, that's not my life. I don't accept that. I was like, there's got to be a way out of this. There's got to be a way to make this experience meaningful. Like, I'm just not tolerating this shit. And you know what? Pathway opened up. But that is your decision. Do as you see fit. All right? Observation is more powerful than constant reaction. I'm hearing talk less, watch more. Early stages of awakening often involve strong emotional responses to events. Over time, a more mature form of awareness develops. This involves stepping back, observing carefully, and recognizing patterns before reacting. All right, babies, I am not going to lie. Most people act in ways that are very predictable if you are looking for these patterns. A lot of people tell on themselves. If you are staying neutral and genuinely observing, you will see people for who you are, for who they are. Those filters you had, those projections you put on those people, they will just fall away. All right? And that can be a burden or a tool depending on how you are looking at it. It's your decision where that falls, but you really just start observing more and watching what people do, listen to what they're saying, all that kind of stuff. Things get clear. I shit you not when I tell you I don't really talk too much these days. I really don't. And when people get to start gossiping, I'm like, where the fuck's the food? Because I just don't partake in that. I just do not. You know, a lot of people tell on themselves if you are paying attention. You'll know. All right. Observation allows you to anticipate developments, avoid manipulation. Some of you really need to peep people's game. Some of you need to understand if you are watching people pull game and manipulate others, some of you need to be open to the fact that they might be fucking doing it to you too. All right, and you may need to shift how you look at that person, what you tell them. Some of you need to stop sharing your plans, your goals, your aspirations with people. Some of you just need, I'm literally hearing some of you need to shut the fuck up. Some of you, I'm hearing confuse the enemy. Some of you, if you suspect people are sharing your shit, tell people different things. See what comes back to you. That's going to reveal your leak. Do with that what you will. All right. Focus your energy on meaningful actions. Remaining calm and attentive is not passivity. And I'm hearing give no shits about what people think. All right. I went to Christmas with my family, and I've had some people been like, you've been real quiet. You know, I was just like, I don't have a lot to say. I'm just, you know, I was like, I'm just happy to be here. You know, some of you, you know, remaining calm and attentive is not passivity. Frankly speaking, some people talk way too fucking much. It is often the most effective way to maintain clarity. This is coming through strong as fuck, so I'm just going to say it. Some of you need to stay out of people's shit. If you tend to be the mediator and you try to smooth things over, you need to stop doing that. You need to stop doing that. See how people handle shit when you don't intervene. And I'm hearing you can lie to those people. Tell them you were busy. Tell them you felt sick. Tell them you had a headache. You taking breaks from your phone. Some shit like that. Your phone died. Like, you lost your phone. I'm telling you, some of you don't like to lie in the divine. I'm hearing clear as day, like, baby, we'll give you the hall pass for that one. So I don't know who that's for, but all right. The goal is to navigate systems, navigate these dynamics. All right. A common early reaction to disillusionment is the belief that systems must simply be rejected. And I can relate to that because when I first started waking up, I was like, all of this is fucked up. This shit needs to be tossed, all that kind of stuff. And, I'm at a point now where I recognize there is nuance and I've actually really lived what I'm about to go through. So I'm going to dive back into this. But I'm just telling you, if you're like, it's all fucked up, it all needs to be thrown out. Listen, I've been there. And it is a complex world. All right? Try not to be so black and white about shit. You don't have to participate in everything, but it's also very unrealistic to throw the whole fucking thing out. All right? Awareness is not just about noticing problems. It's about learning how to move wisely. Wisely. I'm hearing with intention within complex systems. All right? Why? Because systems are complex. They're not purely corrupt or purely fictional. Understanding both the strengths and the weaknesses allow for informed perspective. Patterns govern behavior. They absolutely do. You cannot convince me based on where I am now. This is not true. I have people who know I see them for who the fuck they are, and they still can't change their behavior. And they're still trying to pull the same old shit on me because they don't actually know what else to do. And they're not willing to do the work to grow out of that pattern. So they literally just keep missing me because I just be ducking shit. It's like, I don't do that. So patterns govern behavior. Systems respond in predictable ways. Recognizing these patterns enables anticipation of outcomes and strategic decision making. Once you peep game, once you clock that game, you can move differently. You can maneuver successfully. All right? Boundaries and strategy are essential. Navigation requires knowing what can be influenced, where to invest attention, and how to conserve energy. Some of you give too much to people who do not reciprocate, and that is part of the reason why you are so drained. You have to learn what deserves your energy, what does not, and when to conserve it. You will learn that with time, but you must move differently. All right? Observation comes before action. Careful attention, mapping, and interpretation of the system or the dynamic. Again, they want me to be clear. This can be family. This can be friends. This can be work. This can be, I don't know why I'm hearing environmental, but It could be environmental. And for some of you, this is partnerships. I'm hearing love in general. All right. So again, observation comes before action. Careful attention, mapping, and interpretation of the system are necessary before acting effectively. Know what you are truly dealing with before you act. That's why some of you need to start being quiet. You need to let people just do what they do without realizing you're observing them. And then if you become their focal point, you will know and be able to predict what they're going to do and then just move differently. Interconnections matter. Systems influence one another. Understanding these relationships help predict consequences and make thoughtful choices. I'm hearing some of you know who talks too much. Some of you know who the most gossip-prone person is. Like, I'm hearing, why the fuck are you still talking to these people? That's going to make sense to who it makes sense to, and I'm not being guided to go more into that, but someone needed that called out. All right. Navigation is empowering. Skillful movement within systems transforms awareness into clarity, agency, and practical autonomy rather than overwhelm or reaction. Some of you are going to start clocking this stuff and get real fucking bored with people because you're like, they just do this shit on repeat. They just do it on repeat. And you're just like, I'm literally hearing your antics bore me. All right. The next step is not to act prematurely, but to develop discernment, patience, and understanding. Know what you are up against before you start to make your moves. Once you have internal clarity, you can engage with systems wisely without being trapped or overwhelmed. All right, and keep in mind, meaningful change can take time. Large shifts rarely occur instantly. They tend to unfold as ideas spread, your perspectives evolve, and new ways of thinking are adopted. You can make the decision to make changes at any given point. For some of you, it's really as simple as you just don't respond to text right away. For some of you, that's just a boundary you need to put in place. If people are used to you always being readily available, you need to wait at least a couple of hours before you respond to people. I'm hearing, especially if you know these people are hair on fire people. Like I'm hearing Chicken Little, like the sky is falling type of shit. Make those people wait. Make them wait. Don't be so readily available for them. Because some of these people are in situations of their own making. And I feel like some of you have already tried to get people to see that. Some of you just need to let people sit in their own shit. I don't know who that's for, but some of you just need to let people handle their own shit for a change. That may be the no that you put in place just to see someone's reaction. All right. Developing patience and long-term perspective help you remain steady during periods of change. And I'm hearing things will change. How you handle it is going to be up to you. All right, so let's wrap this up. The closing message. Awareness is only the first step. True clarity comes when we pause, observe, and understand the systems around us. All right, that involves seeing patterns, recognizing boundaries. Some of you need to recognize them and communicate them and fucking hold people to them. And if they keep violating them, you gotta take a look at that person and ask yourself, is this a wise investment to keep putting energy into this person? And choosing where to focus your attention. Where attention flows, good grief. Where attention goes, energy flows. Some of you are putting a lot of thought into repeating shit in your head. Baby, this is not mental anymore. You gotta act. You cannot think your way out of this shit. You really can't. They want you to embrace the mental aspect of you need to see this for what it is so that you can turn it into action. If you are not willing to take action, you will not get out of the mental prison that you've created for yourself. And they don't want me to soften that. Some of you really are in mental prisons that you created for yourself because you are not taking the action that you know you need to take. And they want me to be clear, if you are not willing to take action, you will not get out of where you are right now. I'm hearing, how bad do you want change? How bad do you want it? All right, by grounding ourselves, they want me to be clear. That's not to put pressure on you. I don't know who needs to hear that. That's not meant to pressure you. This is meant to just inform you. I'm hearing nothing changes if nothing changes. And I have been in that situation where I really didn't want to make hard decisions. And I just kept getting the same shit repeating in my experience. And I kept feeling like I had my feet in the fire. And to be honest, until I started moving differently, things did not shift. You have to make changes within yourself and reflect that out into your external environment for some of that shit to lift. And I literally just heard, that's all, folks. Porky the Pig. I'm also seeing Bugs Bunny. I don't know, maybe Looney Tunes is significant. Anyway, by grounding ourselves in discernment and patience, we move from reacting to events toward navigating the world with wisdom. You aren't, the intention is that you will turn these experiences into wisdom and move differently. All right? Why? Because this is the stage where knowledge transforms into empowerment and where each step forward builds a foundation for thoughtful action in the future. Empowerment and embodiment. How do you embody? You act, babies. You act. All right, that is the message. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this to a close. Take care of yourselves, beautiful beings. All right? Take care of yourselves. Until next time, bye, babies.